Hey everybody, welcome back to Epic Conversations with me. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited because today in the Zoom room, I think we still call them that, is Sarah Gilks. Hey Sarah, how are you?
I'm fantastic, Stu. I'm super excited to be here. Always honored to get to talk to you.
Well, I honestly am because I have so many questions. And well, first off, where in the world are you? You're out in
I am
Vancouver
on
Island?
Vancouver Island, Lanceville, British Columbia by the sea. It's beautiful. It's a little rainy, cloudy here today, but most days is beautiful.
Lanceville being just outside of Victoria.
Just outside Nanaimo,
Nanaimo, I meant that. I
or
meant Nanaimo. I knew
central.
that
Yeah.
when I said that, as I was saying it, Souk is just outside of Victoria.
Victoria. It's true.
I've been to Lanceville many times. Anyway, I've spoken to all the schools in the Nanaimo area at least
Well, you should
once.
come back.
I should. I don't do the school speaking anymore. So they don't invite me anymore just to hang out at the school unless I have something to say to all the kids. Um, Sarah. Okay. So anyway, let's start with a few things I'm curious about. So Healthy Role Models is definitely your brand. It is who you are synonymous with. And as behind you, you've got the HRM behind you, and that color, that familiar color of your organization. What is the proper color? So I say I don't want. I'm a guy, so I don't know.
Turquoise. Yeah.
Turquoise. I was going to say
There's like healing properties associated with the stone turquoise that have to do with removing any toxic or negative feelings from your body and turning it into powerful, useful energy. So that's one of the reasons why that's our brand color, but it's also my favorite color. So
wow, we just learned
yeah.
something right off the top. It's so really there's healthy properties to the color of turquoise.
Yeah. To the stone
The
turquoise.
stone,
So
which is turquoise.
we
Yeah,
just took the color from it. Yeah. Yeah.
amazing, amazing. So Healthy Role Models is you, and how long is that? Like, where did that start? Let's go back to how you started health. How did you get to this point, or how did you start it in the first place?
Okay. So it actually started back in 2010. And it started as just like a workout program. It was just a few sheets of a workout that we gave to a group of women who wanted to get fit. And it was along that process of doing that with these 20 women that I recognized the need for community in my own life. Like I was in a place in my life where I was feeling very alone, and I was at home with my small children. And I thought, man, if I'm feeling this way, other women must feel this way as well. And just that desire to be a part of a community of women who are looking after their health and who are wanting to grow in all areas of their lives. And so I thought this is a great way to start something like that, because we're already united by that common value of wanting to be in great health. And so that's kind of how it started. That's like a super Coles Note version,
Yeah,
though.
yeah. But how? So it started with 20 people,
Mhm.
and now it's grown into how many people? How many people roughly do you on an
We
annual
every
basis?
time, so we launch twice a year. We have two programs
Yeah.
a year, and they have approximately 1,000 women each launch, and they are from
Did you
all
say a
around the world.
thousand women?
1,000 women every time. It's
Really?
pretty amazing. What's even more powerful, though,
Wow.
is we do very like minimal amount of marketing. It's grown that way because women truly embody all of the values and really being their healthiest, best selves. And then they inspire other women to join. Like, women actually are asking them what they're doing, or they're just inspiring by how they are leading, and their families, their coworkers, their friends. And that's how it's grown. That's how it's started to span across the globe.
So it really has been word of mouth. It's people see
For the
it,
most
hear
part.
about,
I
they
mean,
talk
other
about
than a
it.
couple like videos on Facebook that we ask our community to share, that's been the majority of the growth has come from the women of the community just being amazing role models.
I always think that like a good sign of a successful community is when whoever founded it or started it is no longer the main focus of it. In that it takes upon a life of itself on its own. And I find that when there are things being posted where HRM is tagged or whatever you call it, hashtagged, or I don't know, I'm not cool. But it will be like
Yes, you are,
groups of
Stu.
people that you're not anywhere in the picture.
Yeah.
And like they're doing things on their own, they're meeting up, they're doing these great things, And, that's the common bond.
Yeah. Honestly, I think most women join Healthy Role Models because they're looking for some kind of a health transformation. And once they're part of it, they recognize the importance of who we're surrounding ourselves with and the importance of community. And they start making connections. It's virtual, like our program is online, but of course, in the smaller communities around the globe that we're in, women start connecting and going to events together. And those are probably the pictures you're seeing is
Yeah.
they start meeting up and they already feel like they know each other from being a part of our online community. So it's pretty special. Like I remember telling Dr. Greg Wells, that we have women in our community who had never met in person, but they organized a trip in Italy to go cycling across Italy together. So they met up in Italy and spent all this time together. It's pretty amazing.
That is amazing. I love that whole story because I think it's so important. And the beauty of the internet, is that you can meet people across the world if you have similar, passions and likes. I think that's amazing. And you've done that.
And I think it's, having a space that is safe, like that they feel safe in, because not all online places feel safe, right? But
Right.
it's the way the community's been nurtured from the beginning to create that space for women.
So how did you, like, obviously you're a healthy person. Where did that journey start? Where did you decide to, become so physically active?
It wasn't always this way. I wasn't always this way. I actually grew up with
I've known you for a long time. I've known you for, gosh, about
about
7 or 8 years. Is it 10
10
years
years,
now?
I think.
I think
When I first met you, you were volunteering at an event I was at, and it was back in 2013.
you're right. It was. You're right. That's how long it
Yeah,
was.
it's pretty
I'm
amazing.
so bad with times, but I've always known you to be in tip top shape.
Well, you're very kind.
So
Um,
how did you get there? Because I can't get there. I always think to myself, and this is such a stupid guy thing to say, just a dumb man thing to say, but I'm gonna say anyway. Um, I look at this community and wish that there was a supportive community for men. I think women just in generally seem much more supportive of each other than men do. Men are I think more like judgy. I don't, maybe I'm wrong because I'm a guy, but
well, I
I
wonder
don't.
sometimes if like a little bit of ego gets in there too, or just not yet practicing the vulnerability. I know
I
like
was,
you're amazing with that, Stu. Like I find you like it's how you connect so well with people. I think that you're a great example for men
thank
because
you.
we need more of that. And that's truly how you make those connections. So um, in terms of my own physical health, I grew up with extreme asthma. I was in and out of the hospital all the time. So I spent a lot of the time like on the sidelines, whether it was in elementary school for PE class. I didn't do a lot of the things I wasn't able to. The Canada Fitness test, I got participation in. All my friends were getting like excellence. I probably just dated myself with that test,
No, I
but
did it too. I did the can of little badges. I did those things too. Yeah.
But it wasn't until I was about 18 or 19 years old. The young man I was seeing at the time was an avid gym goer, and I went with him and I decided to try an aerobics class. So it started with aerobics, and then I felt my lungs start to get stronger. Like I found I was using my inhaler less and just feeling better. And so then I started like ventured into the weight room with him, and I just I started to find like, and I didn't know it at the time that it's what I was doing, but like role models in the gym of like women who looked super strong and like looked like they knew what they were doing. And I kind of just started to model what they were doing. But then like, so it's always been like since 18, 19 years old, health has been a priority, but I've definitely gone through phases of like extremes and like not in a good way of like
Mm.
like restricting foods and food groups and things like that. So like a disordered eating, I would definitely call it. I think that all changed when I had my son, when I recognized how important it was to be a healthy role model for him. Um, and so I changed a lot of my ways in the way I was looking after my health, and that it was about health first. Not, I think that's when the shift from like extrinsic, like going after like all the looks and all of that, to it's about my health.
Mm.
And And then it's just kind of evolved from there. Like it's my purpose. It's one of my core values is my health. And I love being a role model for other people with that.
That sounds like you got a book in there.
Do I?
You do. You do. You have a book. You definitely have. I think your story is, I think a lot of people can relate to it. And I think I want to relate to it. I want to have that conversation with you about that because I want that guide. I'm always seriously thinking, gosh, I wish I really do. I've said this twice now, but I wish I had that community to help me because I have health issues with my MS, and I always think my hardest thing is I feel very alone in that world.
Mhm.
I don't have there's not like an MS role models that I know of. And I wish there was because I know that's where I struggle a lot. I feel very alone. And my wife is super active. She's a phys ed teacher and she's works out every day and she's very healthy. And I don't know, it's a guy, I have a barrier. I don't know. But anyway, I think you've got a story and I think it's very inspiring.
And I can appreciate like where you're coming from, Stu. I know, like, I think we feel most alone when we don't have that community that we feel we can relate to people in and share things with. And that's the power of community, right? Is there's either there are people who are maybe not yet where you are, so you're a role model for them. There's people who you're kind of going alongside with and like on the journey with who are on a similar path. And then there are people who are a little bit further along than you and who are your mentors and role models. And I see that in our Epic community as
Yeah.
well.
They'll reach down and help you up, which I think
Yeah.
is a really, yeah. And I think that's true. Community to me is really based on having people who have a similar thinking. But also I think people who are willing to listen
Mhm.
and support you where you need to be supported, and that is either just by listening or by helping you up. And I think that's
Mhm.
as you just said. So that's really really great.
Yeah.
So where does HRM go? Like, do you want to have 100,000 people in it? Like, I mean, why not?
Honestly, I love that it's still intimate. I wouldn't want it to be a lot bigger in the way the journey is right now. So we do like a spring journey and an autumn journey. I see other programs maybe starting up like under the same umbrella. Right now, we're really passionate about doing like affiliate partnerships with women who are in our community who are also business owners who have something that they can offer to our community. So it's really like a win-win-win. It's a win for them as they're getting like exposure and able to share their gifts and talents with our community. It's a win for our community and it's a win for healthy role models too. So that's what we've been doing in the last couple of years, really focusing on that too. And then sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was going to say, and you do attract really amazing people who would be probably more than capable of helping you build that.
Yeah, it really it's powerful because the women in our community know this person on some level, but they don't know all of her gifts and talents. So it's a really amazing way to showcase the women of our community too.
Which I'm going to say from Showcase, something else I really noticed about what you do, and it's something I try to do, but you do a really, really like exceptionally cool job of it, is recognition. You're really good at recognizing and inspiring your members of your community to continue or to recognize them for something they've completed or a milestone they've met or just to keep them connected. That's super, like, where did that come from? Where did that like next level of community recognition, grateful?
Well, Stu, I have to say you inspire me all the time with that, with how you recognize people in your community and
It's
a
our
lot of
community.
it of our community. um I've always believed in the power of a handwritten note. That's something that my mom and dad instilled in me with like from when I was a young girl. And I think a lot of people have gotten away from that and it makes such a difference for people. Um, and then it was attending Epic in Vancouver where we heard from Neen James and paying attention. And
Yeah.
at that point, I was kind of looking like externally, like how can I help more people learn about healthy role models? And I wasn't looking in going, how can I recognize these people who have been with our community for so long and I appreciate and like love them so much. And so we've found other ways now to recognize women on a regular basis. So like when someone completes 10 programs with us, they get a special journal in the mail with like a handwritten note. And
I
we
know,
have
it's amazing.
a special gift for 20 journeys, and we have like a weekly recognition, and then we have ways within the community for everybody to celebrate their own selves and their own wins every single week as well, because we know the importance of celebrating the small wins too.
How many times do people come back? Like year after year? Is it a lot of return
Our
people?
retention is about 75 to 80%.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing when we look at the stats of like the fitness industry as a whole is usually like 80% of people quit and 20% of people continue on and follow through, whereas our stats are kind of flipped
The
in that
opposite.
way.
I think that comes down to a lot of fitness communities from my 30,000 foot, uh, view of them is they're all about just about getting fit. That's all they're about. And I think yours is about getting fit with each other.
Yeah, it's about more about the social connection and
Yeah.
overall wellness.
Yeah. I think that that's a very different way of looking at it. Right. And I don't think, I think a lot of things I've seen that you do are more about it's more about just being a better person as well as being a fit person, like just being a really good person. Like I get that. That's what I get from it anyway. I just love that. That's what I love.
Well, and again, I've learned so much of what I share with healthy role models through being a part of the Epic community. So they all benefit from me being a part of this community as well.
And every person you've brought to Epic through your community have all been like A+ people. They really have. Like every one of them is like they obviously you brought them there because you felt that they would fit in with our group of human beings or leaders, and they do, and they also resonate the exact same energy and attitude that you resonate.
Yeah, I'm surrounded myself with pretty amazing people. And again, it's something that I've learned from attending events like Epic. It's
Yeah.
the power of who we surround ourselves with. It's super important.
It's a bit selfish in a way for me when I say people always ask me, so what was the point of Epic? And I have my answers. I've talked to Alec about this as well, but um my one of them, like I hate saying it, but it's like because selfishly I wanted to build it for myself. I wanted this community of amazing people around me. And I love to have conversations. I love to be in a room of people who are forward thinking and who are eager to build, create, and to have conversations about building and creating, right?
Yeah.
And then celebrating each other when we do well. And so that's my one of my selfish reasons for Epic is because I need.
You know what? I wouldn't call it selfish. I think that most of the greatest things are born from something that was like a pain point for the creator in the beginning, right? Like I think Healthy Role Models was born because I was feeling like super alone and like I didn't have any other women to connect with. And so that's how it was built. And, Epic is built
Yeah.
similarly, right?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of similarities there. I think is why it works well together. I want to bring everybody into your world that qualifies to be in your world because I think they benefit from it. I really do. Here's my question.
Well, and I'll keep bringing people to Epic too.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. By the way, thank you for that. Here's my changing direction question. What do you? This is the question I ask everybody. I ask these 3 or 4 questions to everybody who I've chatted with. So there's no right or wrong answer. But what do you define as epic? How do you define epic? And not the 4 days together, but the word, the definition of epic in your mind.
Oh, I think it's like doing exceptional things, being around epic people, and like feeling your best and continuing to grow. Like just that desire to want to continue to grow. Like those are all epic things.
I love it. I don't know if you're familiar with Tim Ferriss, the author Tim Ferriss.
A little bit.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
does he just in his podcast he always asks his guests the same question, and I've adapted it a little bit because I think it's a great question. He asks it if you could have a billboard in Times Square and it could say anything, and something you want to pass on to people who would read it. And he said, what would that one thing you would put in that billboard so everybody could read it? Well, I think that's kind of geographical. And today it's 2023, so we have all of a smartphone in our hand, an iPhone or something, and we could get a text message. All of us could at one time. And so I always think, like, what would be the one message you would send out to everybody on their phone? That's like an old school Twitter, 144 characters maximum. What would you say to everybody in terms of, like, there's this ding and there it was? And what was the one thing what message or idea you'd pass on to them? I did that a long intro so you could think. That was a long,
Yeah.
long
Well, I
intro.
think so many people just doubt that they're capable of achieving great health or achieving anything. And I think I would say, why not you? What is one small thing that you can do right now to move you closer to where you want to be? Because that's ultimately what it's about, right? Is just these little small steps that are moving you forward. Yet people make it out to be this huge, grand thing that then becomes like impossible in their minds. But it's the small
Yeah.
little steps, consistent steps that make the difference. So that's
It's
what I would.
hard. It's hard for people to see. I tell a story. I did a TED talk, a few years of TEDx talk, not a real TED talk, a TEDx talk, and I broke it down to micro actions and macro impacts. And I said, like, people know who Terry Fox is. That Terry Fox has raised close to $1 billion worldwide now for cancer research, and that's amazing. And people might even know Terry Fox was the person who some people think ran across Canada on one leg, and they don't even realize he didn't even make it. He only made it to Thunder Bay, and or all these things they know, but they don't really understand that, like, there's a Terry Fox is like his silhouette is now like a logo, like it's an image of perseverance. It's an image of hope, overcoming all sorts of things. But they don't realize that when Terry Fox started his race, it was him and his brother, his best friend, by themselves with nobody else around them in St. John's, Newfoundland, dipping his artificial leg into the ocean. That was it.
Yeah.
And they don't realize it was literally that first step was so lonely and so alone and needed so much.
Yeah.
There was no fanfare. And I think often people don't break down. They're unable to break down their big dreams, goals, flags, couches. You're from Epic, obviously couches,
Mhm.
into those, like, very first little tiny steps.
Yeah.
Do you
And I
have
think we also live in this society now where we see all of the highlights and almost like people who are, at their mountaintop and don't see the journey. And so
Mhm.
people think like, oh, that's impossible for me. But if they saw themselves like maybe at the bottom of the mountain and taking a couple steps up, then they could see that that's exactly how that other person started as well. So it's that, don't compare your where you are right now to where,
Right.
if somebody who's at the top of the mountain, it's that makes things seem not possible.
And the problem is that we have this.
Yeah.
The
Yeah, that is the
I call it
problem.
the compare machine, right? Like, especially
Yeah.
for our youngest people in the world
Yeah.
growing up who are, 15-year-olds, and they're looking at this and they're saying, "Oh my gosh, that's not me. I'll never be that." And it's all polished, of course, too. You're not seeing the muck. You're just seeing the muck,
Yeah.
the good stuff. So,
Well, and that's like every time we start a new Healthy Role Models program, because we have women all different levels and women who have done this program for more than 10 years. And then we have women who are just starting. And so that's one of the first lessons that we teach is about running your own race and just not looking to the sides and comparing. If you're going to look to the side, it's to like cheer somebody on or to say, whoa, she's awesome. Like I can do that too. And that's something that we instill from the beginning, because comparison it's the easy thing to do, right? Is to compare and to then, feel less than. Takes a little bit more work to say, I can do that too. Like, let's go.
there's a great quote I heard that simple quote says, "Build your own skyscraper,"
Mm, I like that.
which is just build your own sky. You don't look at other people's buildings and think, I better be as tall or as good or as shiny as that build. Just build your own skyscraper.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really neat metaphor of looking at what you just said. Sarah, thank you for hanging out with
Thank
us.
you.
How do people, like, if they want to know more about healthy role models, they want to know more about what you do and your awesomeness, how would they do that?
Well, our website
Your
is
epicness, your
my
epicness.
epicness. Our website is healthyrolemodels.com. And then we're on Instagram and Facebook, same like at Healthy Role Models. And then my personal Instagram is at Sarah Gilks, SarahGilks.
I follow them all,
Yes, you do.
and I appreciate
Thank you
everything you
so
do.
much for having me on with you, Stu. Like, it's always an honor to get to talk to you.
Well, I have to give credit where credit is due, and that is Graham in Australia called me and said, I would love to know more about everybody in Epic and conversations so I can listen to them throughout the year. So it was only me and you chatting with Graham and Danette. They now know more about us. So
amazing. Well, I hope to hear more about them too.
yeah, they're coming up. They're coming up. Thank you.
Good.
You're amazing. And yeah, hearts. Kids at camp were doing this thing where it was like,
I don't know. Yeah, it's some weird finger thing. I just
really can't do it. So I was at camp this past summer, and I was doing this, and my teen staff were like,
they're like, no, you don't.
what are you? How old are you? 80? And I was like, no, why?
I guess I'm 82,
Yeah,
Stu.
this isn't cool, Stu. And I was like, oh gosh, it changes so fast. I had a training this weekend with a bunch of spirit leaders we have our global summit coming up in 2 weeks with 700 students.
Amazing.
And I was talking to them, and they were saying words, Sarah, and they were like, that's so Rolo or something. And I was like, what? And it's like, it's like, and that's not one of the words, but there are these words. And I was like, I don't know what any of you are saying.
Yeah, I have two. I have a 20-year-old and a 15-year-old. So I hear all those words too.
You get to hear them, right? And now I don't have the camp, so I don't get to hear it as much. I'm just locked away in my little house. Sarah, thanks so much. And I'll talk to you before, but definitely can't wait to see you again in December, but I'll definitely talk to you before that.
Sounds good. Thank you, Stu.
Take care. Maybe I'll come up to Vancouver Island like Greg did and hang out with you on the beach.
You should. You can come stay here.
Oh, don't. I want to hang out with you and Alec all the time. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you. Bye.